Well, it's good to see you this morning, and would you help me express gratitude to this young man, Brother Donald Glenn? Would you put your hands together for him? Come on, you can do a little bit better than that. Yeah, you can do a little bit better. Just keep clapping, keep clapping, keep clapping. Keep clapping, keep clapping. Boy, that is a high step right there. Y'all got to do something about that step. All right. Listen, just blessed by him. He's not only a great dude, I really like him and appreciate him, but he's a sharp dresser too. And come up here one more time. I just want to look at it because I'm never going to fit nothing like that, but I just want to see what skinny pants look like. There was a time when right before I got married 100 years ago, I went to get my tuxedo fitted so I could get married in it, and they had to find some pants because I was a 28-inch waist. Y'all don't believe that, huh? I really was. I was 28-inch waist, and now one of my thighs is 28 inches, but I'm glad for him. Where is Dion? Where's this Dion? Stand up. Y'all give it up for Dion Bennett. Give it up for... I don't know. I'm probably killing the sound person because you probably had me up there, right? And I'm down here. I'm so recalcitrant. I'm sorry. I'm probably incorrigible too, but work with me. I don't know if you've ever heard her really sing. Have you heard Dion really sing? Is she bad? She's bad, boy. She's a member of our church, and every now and then she blesses us with a song, and she literally blows the roof off the building. So I'm glad. And would you celebrate the choir that sang? They were great. They were great. They were great. Give it up. Give it up for them. And Matt, where's Matt? Where did Matt go? Where did Matt go? Keith, was it Keith? Where did Keith go? There he is. Stand up, Keith. You were great, man. Took a lot of courage. Took a lot of courage. I'm glad to see where's my brother Craig Brown back there? Glad to see Craig. I just asked about you, and I'm so glad to see you. And certainly we honor the president in his absence, and delighted to be back on the campus of Ohio Christian University. I was given the assignment. And years ago, when I first started preaching, my dad told me that if you accept an assignment, you are obligated to deal, thank you, let there be light. You are obligated to deal with that assignment. And if you're not going to deal with the assignment, you should not accept it. So when Brother Glenn sent me the letter about speaking here this morning, he gave me the assignment of dealing with this question, this issue of who is my neighbor. And so, since that is what Brother Glenn, Brother Donald gave me, and I am a man under authority, and I'm here in his place of influence, I want to deal for about 15, 17, 18 minutes with that question, who is my neighbor? Now, what's interesting when you think about that, and I want you just to work with me, all right? Work with me this morning. When I was growing up, I don't know about you, but when I was growing up, the older people in our lives told us we should never question God. So when we were growing up, something bad happened, we were told, never question God. Question God, God's gonna get you. And we didn't want to get got, so we didn't question God. Now, I've gotten older, and I've realized while they meant well, they were totally, absolutely, fully wrong. In fact, would you be surprised to discover that all of the Bible is filled with questions? In fact, it starts in the book of Genesis. Now, I'm at a Christian university, so I'm going to assume that all of you bright, brilliant, beautiful college students know that the book of Genesis is the first book in the Bible. Say amen. If you don't know it, just fake it, and nobody will know you don't know that. Book of Genesis, first book in the Bible. But watch this, gets better. Not only is the first question in the Bible, in the book of Genesis, it gets better. First question in the Bible is in the first book of Genesis. That's great. Would you believe that the first person, quote unquote, to ask the question is God? Bible says, book of Genesis, when Adam and Eve mess up, eat us out of house and home, God comes down, visit with them. First question, Adam, where are you? Followed up by another question. When Adam says, I hid because I was naked, God asks, who told you you were naked? Now let me say this and I'll move on. One good thing that came out of the fall is clothes. Y'all are really slow this morning. Because if it were not for sin, all of you would be walking around here jaybird naked. And that is not a pretty thought. So God says, second question, who? Now some of the brothers are like, Second question, who told you you were naked? Third question, God asked, and what have, y'all stop it. I'm gonna break this group up right here. You come sit over here. Wasn't you just up in the choir singing? And you done jump carnal. Come see, behave. Third question, what have you done? First three questions in the Bible, God asks, Adam, where are you? Who told you you were naked? What have you done? Next question in the Bible is asked by a man to God. It's a man who has killed his brother, and he asks, am I my brother's keeper? All of those questions are in the very first book of the Bible. I got to move. I'm not going to go through all 66 books. The last book of the Bible has a question, book of Revelation, when the hordes of heaven are gathered, the angels ask, as they see the redeemed from the north and the south and the east and the west coming into the presence of God. Here's the question, who are these and where have they come from? Literally, from Genesis to Revelation, the Bible is filled with questions. So much for don't question God. When the book God wrote, from the beginning to the end, is filled with questions. There's one question, though, in the book of Luke, chapter 10, that I want to look and lift today. It's the question of a young lawyer, an attorney, who says to Jesus, seeking to justify himself, and who is my neighbor? That's a good question in 2018. In fact, that's a good question on the campus of the Ohio Christian University. And that's a good question for every one of you sitting in this room. The query, the interrogative, the question, and who is my neighbor? Of course, you know what Jesus does from there, right? He tells the story of the Good Samaritan. The late Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., who everybody knows, whether you study him or not, you just got to know who Dr. King is. Dr. King says that this man raises this question to Jesus, and Jesus, watch this, pulls it out of thin air and places it on a meandering road winding from Jerusalem to Jericho, and says, a certain man, but let's enlarge it, could have been a woman, a certain person fell among thieves. And hey, y'all, it doesn't get pretty good from there, because then Jesus has church folk walking by that man. Okay, let's see if I can do it this way. Jesus has ministry students at OCU, or music majors, or business majors. I mean, come into a Christian university wearing their blue and white. Emblazoned across your chest, Ohio Christian University, and you down in downtown Circleville, and you walk by somebody. That's not really Christian, is it? Maybe what we ought, can I borrow you for a minute? You like, please don't, come on. I ain't gonna hurt you. Maybe what we ought to do is get big markers or black tape, and let's just cover up Christian. Let's just call this Ohio University. Or you'll get in trouble because there's one of them further down the road. So let's just put everything over Ohio Christian. Let's just call this place University. Let's take Christian out. Let me ask a question. I know some of y'all are waiting on me to finish, but I'll finish when I'm through. Here it is. Here it is. Are you living up to the name on your chest? You wearing these shirts, you walking around, you spending your money or somebody's money to come here. Jesus said Christians walked by him. Church people, religious people walked by him. Thanks, bro. And only a Samaritan, an unchurched person, an irreligious person was willing to stop. Are you ready for this? Jesus makes the hero of the text a person no Jew would want to be the hero. I wonder on this campus, who's going to be the hero or the shero? Who's going to be the person who's willing to be a good Sam, a good neighbor? The lawyer asked the question, and who is my neighbor? But Glenn told me that's what I was supposed to talk on for 20 minutes, which is odd because I'm a black preacher. Take a black preacher 20 minutes to clear his throat. So this is an exercise in futility that I'm engaged in. But let's see what we can do. I think there are three answers to the question, and who is my neighbor? Now I know most of you too young to remember Mr. Rogers. Oh, y'all remember Mr. Rogers? Our children used to watch that, show you how old I am. Our children used to watch it. Will you be, won't you be my neighbor? What's a good neighbor? Three things. Who's your neighbor? Here's the first thing. Are you ready? No, are you ready? You got to talk. See, in my church, they talk back to me. Y'all are you ready? Yeah. All right, let's go. Here's the first thing. Who is my neighbor? If Jesus is right, and I think he is because he's Jesus, he says your neighbor, are you ready, is anybody, are you ready for this, in proximity to you. Wow. so that your neighbor, stay with me, doesn't have to live next door to you. Your neighbor just has to be in proximity to you, which means whoever's sitting next to you right now is your neighbor. But wait a minute, who's ever on your dorm floor is your neighbor. Or who's ever in your lab class is your neighbor. Or whoever is in the choir with you is your, okay, y'all getting quiet. It doesn't matter about complexion or skin tone or hairstyle or gender. That's all stuff we make up. Hispanic, African American, white, Asian. That's all stuff we make up. Neighbors are not about that stuff. It's who is ever in proximity to you. So here's the question. Who has God put in proximity to you? If you look around right now, if you look behind you and in front of you, to the left of you, to the right of you, whoever is in proximity to you is your neighbor. Here's the second thing. You know who else your neighbor is? It's not just who's in proximity. I got to come over here and break this group up because you two are about to, yeah, you two. You two. 1, 2. Okay, 3. Why you want to be singled out with them? You just do. I got you. It's all right. Here's the thing. Second thing. It's not just who's in proximity. Are you ready? Your neighbor is anybody who's in pain. Man, that was such a moving song. Please stay. Do you know how many of you are in pain today? Oh, no, you don't believe it, right? You know why? Because y'all be chilling, and y'all be talking, and y'all be hanging, and y'all be doing what you do. And what you don't know is a lot of people in this room leave from your proximity in pain. That song is real. You'd be surprised how many people in this room, all fresh-eyed and clean-faced and looking good, have thought about suicide. Or attempted suicide in pain. See, your neighbor is anyone not only in proximity to you, but anyone in proximity to you who's in pain. And the tragedy of life is you could stay on this campus for 4, 5, 6 years and never touch anybody who's in pain. And you could pose for your yearbook picture and before your 5th reunion come back here and realize that some of your friends are no longer alive, and you would say, I never knew they were depressed. I never knew she dealt with bulimia or anorexia. I never knew he had a drug problem. We always were laughing. He was the life of the party. Man, everybody liked her. And nobody realized they were in pain. That man who fell among thieves was beaten, stripped, left half dead, was in pain. And only the Good Samaritan was a neighbor. Here's the last one. It's not just anyone in proximity. It's not just anyone in pain. Who is your neighbor? Anyone that you can be present with. Now, I'm going to say this in a room that's on the campus of higher education, so please forgive me. but it doesn't take a bachelor's, a master's, or a PhD to be present. You don't even have to be on the dean's list. I'm really gonna get in trouble, Craig. You don't even have to be a B student. You can be on the bubble. You can be praying their grade on the curve. But when somebody is in pain, your willingness to be present can make all the difference in the world. You may not be the valedictorian of the class, the salutatorian. You may not be voted most likely to succeed or most popular. But wouldn't it be amazing if after the end of your sojourn here, you can look back and say, I was present for somebody. Now, they may not put that in the yearbook, but it will add years to somebody's life to have a friend who is a neighbor who is willing to be present. And so this lawyer seeking to justify himself asked Jesus, and who is my neighbor? Today I come to this place to ask you, and who is your neighbor? And how good of a neighbor are you? We always talk about the world is a neighborhood and it takes a village to raise all this stuff we just be spouting. I wish y'all would stop talking it and start doing it. You want to sing these songs and you want to do this stuff, but then we don't want to flesh it out in our lives. I want to challenge you this morning. Be a neighbor. To be Mr. Rogers or Miss Rogers or Ms. Rogers. And just look to somebody and say, will you be, won't you be my neighbor? Let's live in proximity, and when you're in pain, you can count on me because I'll be present with you and for you. Because the bottom line is all of us are struggling. None of us have it as together as we want people to think we do. And all of us need somebody to be our neighbor. And the church said, amen. Come on, stand with me. Everybody stand. I want you to turn to somebody and ask them, can I be your neighbor? Can I be your neighbor? All right. That's good. That's good. That's good. That's good. Bow your heads. I want to have the honor of praying with you. Brother Glenn, how we doing on time? Am I in good shape? Can I pray a quick prayer with you? Father, thanks for the student body here at OCU. Thanks for the faculty and the staff. Thanks for Brother Donald Glenn and his team. I pray for these young people. I sat and watched them when they came in, when they interacted. I see the pep in their step, the glide in their stride, the bounce in their walk. They're so young. Life is ahead of so many of them. And yet I know, because I have been where they are, lurking right around the corner is some pain. Some of them have already experienced it. Maybe the divorce of their parents, or the loss of a sibling, or a broken heart, or some failure in their own lives. and they are just now tasting of the pain of life. I pray for them today, not that you will keep them from pain. Pain is what helps us grow. It matures us. What I pray for them today is that they will have neighbors. That God, they'll have someone in proximity and someone in their pain and someone who is present, that they won't go through the challenges of life by themselves. And my last prayer for them, Father, is not only that they'll have neighbors, but that they will be a neighbor. All this going on in our nation and our world, if ever we needed a country of good people, it's this morning. Would you teach us how to be neighbors so that when the query is raised and the interrogative is lifted and the question is asked, and who is my neighbor? The student body of OCU will say, we are each other's neighbor. No student will go through this school year or any school year without a neighbor. Do that for us, because only you can. We are by nature selfish and stingy and self-centered. So enlarge us, change us, make us like Christ, who is the ultimate good Samaritan, because he came to where we are to make us like him, to one day take us home with him. We thank you for it in his sweet but strong name. And every student in this room said, amen. I love you. God bless you.